Welcome back to the Goalie Corner presented by One Stop Goaltending. I'm Coach Michael, and we have Billy with us today to talk about what I think is a pretty important topic, and it's the parent's role within tryouts or during tryouts, maybe even leading up to tryouts, right? It is a touchy subject. It is something that we have talked about previously. Can't remember if Billy was on the episode or not, but an episode that I would go back and listen to that we touched on the subject before is last week's episode. And we got into it. We got into it with some pretty good details, but this one's solely based on the parents, right? It's going to be a quick one. Billy and I would do our best as non-parents, describe what we wish our parents did, as well as what we see as goalie coaches now, thinking new generation and stuff like that, how we would like the parents to act as well, right? So, Billy, what were your parents like in minor hockey tryouts? Were they part of, I'm just going to say, like gossip train? Oh, coach talked to this kid, coach talked to that kid. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. Or rumor mill. I think Spit and Chicklets calls it the rumor boys or something like that. Were they part of that group of parents?
Oh, no chance at all. No
Mine too.
shot.
Mine too. Mine could not care any less about rumors, right? And if it's coming from third party, there's no credible source essentially, right? I think one thing that my parents did extremely well was sheltered me from the rumors and from other people, like other people's parents, the subjects that were being talked when I was around, right? That's something that I wish parents did a little bit more of this day and age, right? A lobby is a very public place for people to be bad mouthing other kids or bad mouthing parents or even speaking very highly. It's kind of dangerous because someone's going to be walking by, hear it, maybe take it out of context, and or a kid that's also trying out for the team or a goalie also trying out for the teams hears this these parents are talking about as they're just walking past, and now they're getting stuck on it, right? Whether it's good or bad, right? So I do wish that people maybe a little bit more aware of who's walking past them when they're having these conversations, right? I'm not saying
hmm
don't have them, right? I'm just saying be careful of what you're saying and who's around you as parents, right? Especially with the goalie's athlete, especially your goalie present, right? What's something that you might notice parents doing now that you like what they're doing at tryouts?
I think one thing is that I do like, and every kid's a little different. Maybe they want to see their kid in the stands or their parent in the stands, sorry, and see that they're there and active and caring, right? But one thing that I specifically like is when I see the kid taking care of himself, coming into the rink with his bag, with his gear, going into the dressing room, getting changed. Sure, he has his phone. If something goes wrong, you can call dad or mom. But at the end of the day, like, they're driving him to the rink. But once he gets to the rink, like, he's taking care of himself, he or she. Obviously, we're talking about tryouts here, so I'm thinking like 13 plus.
Yeah,
So it's kind of what I would say is like a big. First of all, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but we talked about junior tryouts. We're going to talk about junior tryouts next episode. I think a big part of that is recognizing maturity too. Coach doesn't want to
totally.
see a parent carrying a goalie's gear and walking them in. Once you're 13 plus, it's like you to take care of yourself. And so one thing I think I like parents doing is they still care. They still might pop in or whatever, but sometimes I see parents leave and then come back, watch for 20 minutes, and then Johnny's doing good. I'm gonna pop out now. They're still curious and they still want to know how he's doing. You can tell by a guy's body language how they're doing, but you don't have to be like, stop the
Codependent.
puck, stop the puck. So
That's a good one. I forgot about those parents. I feel like you don't notice it too much in goalie parents anymore. Definitely in some players and defense parents yelling from the stands. So I'm kind of happy that that's disappearing. And I do like the point you made with becoming a little bit independent, right? My parents always used to say their job is to get me to the rink on time to help with gear and stuff like that. My job is once I get to the rink, that's all on me, right? They started saying that from a pretty young age. And I think that's what you're touching on, right? So as soon as the kid leaves the car, right? I'm not saying you have to leave and not watch your kid try out, right? But Let them carry their stuff in. Let them take their stick as well. I have sticks here and there. Sometimes parents like to hold it to make them feel important, and that's fine. But let them take their gear. Let them help them with the door, maybe, but let them be independent when they get into the rink, right? They have to make their decisions with when they start getting ready and when they get to step onto the ice, essentially, right? So let them do that. And the younger you let them start doing that, I think the better off they're going to be when the tryouts start becoming U18 and juniors and stuff like that moving forward, right? Because they'll have a little bit more self-confidence in their decision making, right? One thing that was mentioned last week in the episode was how to talk to the kid or the goalie after a session, right? It is a really critical time, and it's for both parents and goalies. And it's a really awkward time as the parent trying to navigate that. Totally understandable, right? It has bad ice time. Do you want to say what you saw and stuff like that? Because you, as a parent, like you become a goalie in yourself because you're doing a lot of studying yourself. I'm going to be kind of blunt and honest about it. The last thing they want to hear, or as soon as they get into the car, is what they could have done better because the goalie probably already knows that. What you want to do is create that safe space where I know the parents want to have that conversation to make sure that their kid is putting their best foot forward. I would say let the kid come to you or let your kid come to you with that. So just tell them when they get in the car, be like, hey, how you feeling? Good, bad, okay. And kind of start that conversation. Don't force it, but just leave it open minded and have all the questions open ended. So it's more than just a yes and no answer to also get your kid to think a little bit more about what happened, right? If it was good and if it was bad, right? If it went good, what happened? Why was it good, right? How can we mimic that for tomorrow or the next ice time, right? If it was bad, why did it go bad? What can we do differently, right? We as a team, right? Do differently to help you put your best foot forward, right? Oh, I noticed that you were late dropping in your butterfly. What happened there, right? You almost want to tell them in like question form, playing maybe a little dumb with air quotes, right? And see what they tell you, right? Maybe their knee was buggered up and that's why they're dropping slow, right? And we obviously can't really see that from the stands, right? So I think it's really important to have that safe space and have it where you're asking them questions that are open ended and not necessarily putting them in a defensive state, right? And that's a challenging thing to do as for everybody, let alone parents onto kids. I know a lot of times my dad's trying to, and my mom tries to have open conversations with me, and just my mood or my mindset, especially coming away from the ice surface, isn't ready for that conversation yet. So I feel defensive, right? So maybe it's something that you do later in the evening after dinner, obviously dependent on your face time, but you want to have a pretty neutral conversation maybe in the car, excuse me, and then maybe a longer conversation when you get home, but let your kid and let your goalie start it essentially, right? Tell them that you're there for them, tell them that when you're ready, let us know, but as soon as you go to bed and wake up, it's a new day. We're not going to have that conversation tomorrow, right? Because they want to start thinking about the next ice time, right? So you want to have the conversation today, but we'll wait for you until you're ready and the adrenaline's dropped. At least that's my take on it if I was a parent, which I am not. So what do you think about that, Billy?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's definitely personality dependent. I think for me, I was a hissy fit guy. I lost any game. Something was getting punched or smack the door or something in the car. And not like hard to legit, but
I'd probably tell you to walk home.
like my mom used to just rip me and be like, "You're an idiot." But I actually want to make a point on that. It made me more angry because she would just rip me. So like, if your son or daughter doesn't have a great game and they're frustrated, yes, obviously they shouldn't act out, but I agree with Michael. Just sometimes people get frustrated, especially if you weren't. My mom played sports growing up, but she like never played competitively. And I'm not trying to call anyone out here, but if you'd never
Right.
played like competitive high level sport and you weren't in the thick of it, and especially when you're like between the ages of 9 and 15, where you're just trying to learn how to regulate your emotions and you're in the thick of this competition and you have your coach expectations to stop the puck, and you have your teammates' expectations to stop the puck, and you have your defenseman's mom in the stands expecting you to stop the puck, and you let in the overtime winner, your kid's probably going to be upset. So like, yelling at him or her and being like, "Don't throw your Gatorade bottle," or whatever is going on, I think isn't the best approach. I would say just be like, "Hey, we'll talk at home," or whatever, and move on. Um, then on the other end of the spectrum, you might have a kid that just like shuts down. He or she just doesn't want to talk at all. And I would say for me, I when I get like that, I personally just need something to relate to. So like, maybe you have a story or something's going through your head, and but as a parent, I don't know, make whatever go. I don't want to just go. Maybe you need to go for a walk after the game or something. Try to do something differently is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Instead of just
Get it,
like
get your head out of the negative space.
instead of just letting it sit there.
Right. I think one thing that I do want to touch quickly on that is people are going to say video games are their escape. That's not going to help you mentally get over what just happened for positive and negative situations, right?
It's just going to be off here, but
All
I've
good.
also found that when I play a video game, then I just get frustrated because I'm losing in my video game. So
Well, not everybody's as good as we are at video games, but what you need is to have your blood still moving, right? So a lot of athletes, high level, will jump on the bike after their game, and that is a part of decompressing, right? And that's to get the blood flowing still through the brain to get one to bring their hormones down after competition, and two, it gives them that kind of mental quiet area to analyze and debrief themselves of what just happened, right? So if my kid's throwing their water ball across the ice, I'm not going to match their energy, but I'm also not going to be happy about it, right?
I was talking about the parking lot, but
Gotcha. Okay. Same thing because I paid $20 for that water bottle now. I'm not going to be thrilled about buying it and it gets smashed on the ground for no reason, right? But I would agree with you. You don't want to match the kid's energy, especially if he has negative energy about them, right? You want to stay that neutral ground, right? If they got shut out and they're feeling really good, you want to stay neutral with them, right? Bring them a little bit back down to reality. Hey, it was an awesome performance. What went well, right? And by no means, Billy and we're not therapists or anything crazy with that, right? We're mainly speaking from personal experience and just experience of being involved with these goalies' lives and understanding what makes them tick. Because when we're on the ice with them, every day it's something different, right? Kid comes from school, they have high energy, right? We have to figure out how to communicate with them to get them to do stuff, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it really doesn't work, right? And everyone's different, like Billy said. So we have some sort of communication experience, I'll say. And what we've found is letting them come to you more than you trying to go to them and ask them a bunch of questions. And it's almost like a smothering of, I want to know this now, right? When me and my dad would bicker at each other, when I had courage to bicker back at him, it wasn't great. I'll let you know that because he's really good at arguments. But when I had the courage to bicker back at him, and all I was really trying to say is it's not time. And I wish I knew how to say that in the moment. Hey, we'll talk about it. Don't worry, but it's just not time yet, right? You got to give everybody, it doesn't even matter if it's a goalie, a kid, whoever, parents need it too. Time to just sit and think about what happened and what was good. Did I handle the situation well? Blah, 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 right? You brought up hormones and trying to regulate it. That's a huge aspect and a huge part of it all, right? As kids, right? A lot of new hormones come in at a certain age and they don't know how to deal with it all, right? In boys, you see a lot more anger and aggression, right? Nobody wants to talk to an angry person or an aggressive person. There's no real benefit, right? So let them be angry, let them be aggressive. Just make a rule that, hey, you damage my stuff, I'll damage your stuff too, right? So if Billy comes and slams my door, I'm going to slam his door right back, right? My parents had a no door slamming policy where if I slammed a door, they would take my door off from my bedroom and I wouldn't have a door anymore. And they didn't give me a time frame. They just said forever. So I made sure that wasn't my thing, right? It's all about, we're not saying you don't know your kid or anything like that, but it's one of those eye-opening things when you see parents, the car door closes and they start telling their kid how to be a goalie or a defenseman or anything. It's kind of like, that's probably not a fun place to be for that goalie or that player or defenseman, right?
I think I point on that too. When I'm goalie coaching, and a lot of goalie coaches that I talk to, Western Hockey League, OHL, American League, guys that coach at a high level, they talk about working together with the goalie. What works for you? What do you want to stand this deep in your crease? Do you want to stand this far out? Where are your hands? So as a parent, to say one way is the way to do it just isn't. It's just not the reality. What works for some guys doesn't work for other guys. It's part
Totally.
of the position. You see different sizes, different athleticisms, different ways to play the position. It's one of those positions. There's 64 goalies in the NHL, and every single one plays differently. So I think sometimes there's a lot of hate right now in the RVH or how the post play and stuff like that. But I don't mean to bring this in the conversation, but if you do the math, when guys shoot from that dead angle opportunity, about 96% of the time, the RVH is effective. So yes, you might get
Yeah.
beat whatever 4% of the time with a perfect shot. But if you try to play it differently and put yourself in a worse position, you're probably going to get scored on more. So
It's learning what works best for you, both physically and mentally,
yeah,
obviously, right? So like Billy brings up the gameplay, that's physically, right? You saw Shelov's always in RVH, right? That works for him. And then you see someone else, I can't think of anybody, Skinner, he's in the RVH when the puck's close, right? He doesn't, I'm, call me out if I'm wrong, right? He rarely just sits in the RVH if it's unnecessary, right? Maybe. I don't know. But I might be talking out my butt on that one. But goalies play the same situation differently, right? Because it's what works best for them. They communicate differently because that's what works best for them, right? And that's really important to figure out at a young age, or at least try to figure out at a young age, because it just puts you further ahead in life, both in hockey and in real life, right? Anywho, let's sum it up here. Nice and short and sweet, right? We don't have to tell parents how to parent too much here. Billy, what are your top three things that a parent can do to help their goalie during tryouts?
wait for them to come to you, allow them to be independent. And I think the last thing I would say is just be their biggest fan. I think sometimes I'll leave you with this. My mom told me one time, because this only happened ever once, I gave up in a game. And she said, if you ever do that ever again, you will never touch the ice again. It's a team game. You just let everyone down. So that was the one time that you kind of, I took that personally. But at the same time, she said that because she was my biggest supporter. And I think if your goalie has a great game or whatever, be there for them. If their goalie has a terrible game, be there for them. It's being even keel. That would be my third point. Just even keel, the same. It's never too high, never too low. Hey, great game. Hey, it wasn't your best, but you'll be better tomorrow.
Yep.
It doesn't need to be any more than that.
My biggest things, Billy kind of took a lot of mine, so I'll let them come to you, obviously. I like to stay even keel. I'm going to add, be aware of the conversations that are happening around your goalie, especially depending on ages. right? The lobby is not a safe place to have conversations. A lot of ears are open. A lot of people are being part of that gossip wheel or rumor mill, right? And that's just not something that a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old needs to hear and be a part of, right? You want them to think about themselves, not selfishly, but can't even think of the word. Say that again.
Be self-aware.
Self-aware. There's another word I'm looking for, and unfortunately, I can't think of it. Hopefully, I can find it. I'm gonna give myself like seconds here.
Self-motivated.
Reflect. Self-reflective, right? You want them to be able to reflect on their game, both for good and to what to work on, right? Not negative, but what to work on. Be very careful of how you talk to them during tryouts. It's a very stressful time. So just be very careful of how you approach certain conversations. I find it the best to be neutral and have neutral questions that make them come up with the answer and not guiding their answer. Because one, it makes them think, it opens their mind up a little bit to, oh, maybe that situation wasn't as bad as I thought, right? We've been talking a lot of bad situations, but it also goes for good situations as well. And then the third thing I would say, the car is a very dangerous place. One, because you're going to be driving your kid for a handful of years afterwards as well. You don't want them to have a really bad conversation that's not left in a good way, because then them getting into the car is going to be mentally stressful for them every time, right? And that's something that we talked about with Jackson last week. That trauma, your brain remembers location of trauma more than the trauma itself. And that's why, till this day, I have nothing against my dad at all. But to this day, when it's just me and him getting in the truck together, I sit there, don't breathe too loud, don't have quick answers, be ready to answer a question, right? And it's just because him and I had a lot of really hard conversations in the trucks going to and from rinks, right? So that's just my own experience, not to share too much info, but be very careful with those conversations, right? I think that's a good way to end it. It's a stressful time for parents as well, right? Where everybody that's associated in hockey is trying to do best for the kids and for players and goalies. So don't be too hard on your kid because they're feeling the stress just like we are, right? I feel stressed all the time about making the correct picks. I hate it. Actually, I will leave on one more note. If your kid gets cut, right? Most minor hockey associations have a 24-hour rule that has to go by before the parents are allowed to reach out to the coaches, which I think is a good thing. In that 24 hours, you want to have a reflection period and know what questions you want to ask and get answered. And you have to be prepared for answers that you don't like. You have to be prepared for answers that you might not understand. So you're going to have to be able to ask for clarification as well. And if someone's not willing to clarify more, then that's a bit of a problem. But if it happens, you as the parent have to put on a brave face for your goalie to be like, hey, it is what it is. It's going to happen. It is part of life, because not everybody that comes into my office leaves on a good note that we're ever going to talk again, right? But I might have to see them again and show them respect, right? But you, the parent, have to kind of lead that by example, right? Even though it was unfair, maybe it was a political decision or whatever, right? You can't let the kid go through that season saying, oh, well, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, and then have that unnecessary chip on their shoulder, right? Let them just focus on playing, right? We as adults have to be that buffer for them until they can pay taxes and buy their own house, right? Then they can have the dose of reality. But just that goes back to being self-aware and aware of conversations being had and where your goalie is, right? I don't think they need to hear the political BS that goes on ever. because it is just BS. But yeah, I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole because we'd be here all night. So thank you everybody for listening. Tune back in next week, as Billy kind of did mention before. We talk about getting ready for junior tryouts. And the week after is how to stand out during minor hockey tryouts. Thank you for everybody for listening, and talk to you soon. See you soon. Something soon.
Cheers.